Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from fresh perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 275, Power of Intention, recorded live from Lineage Coffee in Orlando, Florida. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host, and I'm here today not in 818
Studios. No, we are in the beautiful Lineage Coffee roasting. Thank you, Lineage, for hosting us. Yeah, if you want like real coffee,
real coffee,
not like mass-produced corporate overlord coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you deserve Lineage.
We'll hook you up.
Sure. That's right.
Yes. So we're glad to be at Lineage 1011 East Colonial, and this happens to be my favorite shop because all the employees are super cool, and so it's great. It's great to be here. It's great to be with some old friends, and you know, everyone here pretty much, Dave, has been a part of supporting the show, either financially.
Yeah, it was like a family reunion, lots of neck hugging, and
it was almost like church.
It was. It wasn't unlike church.
It wasn't unlike church. I know. Yeah. Can I have an amen? Okay. You couldn't help it. You couldn't help it. Tell us. Yeah. What we say down south is make it plain. Make it plain. Yeah, so today is a great day. We thank you to all of our listeners, too, who are with us along the journey. And, you know, as we've been hearing lately, I mean, as I've been learning, the many cities across the country and even around the world that are listening to the show, is really amazing stuff. Yeah,
and today we're going to honor the listeners from Orlando, Florida.
We're going to honor Orlando. Let's hear it, Orlando.
Yeah, it's no great mystery why we get so many listeners from our hometown. You know, folks who know you and love you and have either been a part of your flock or seen you, or it's just really good. Thank you. So thank you for all of your support over the now, 5 years? 275 episodes. Yeah,
it's been over 5 years. And that really leads us to our show, Dave. So Dave, give us the title, if you will.
Today's topic is it the power or just power of intention?
It could be either one.
How about, I like the, like I always say, the Authentic Spiritual Journey. And I know that's kind of an inside joke between us because he's like, it's Authentic Spiritual Journey and it's the Authentic Spiritual Journey.
It's the Authentic Spiritual Journey, yes. So and today is?
The power of intention.
The power of intention. The power of intention. And so I chose this topic for a very specific reason. And the reason is I've been doing my own thinking about my life and how did I get from where I was to where I am? Do you ever think about that? And when I think about the ideas I had about myself at a very young age and the ideas I have about myself now, oh, by the way, there's a lot of motorcycles going by.
No, those are scooters.
Oh, they are. They're little scooters. They're pretending to be bikes. Okay.
It's not a biker gang. It's a scooter gang. Hey, it's on two wheels. It's all good.
It's all good. Okay. But as I was thinking about where I had been and where I am now in my thinking, not only about myself, but about the world, about God, about my place in the world, there was really one kind of through line on my journey. And that through line was starting with intention. In other words, where am I now and where do I want to be? Where am I now and where do I want to be? And all of you know, especially those of you who are here today, you're all on the journey, and you know that to get from here to there, you have to have what? A vision, an idea, an intention. And what is an intention? Well, I was trying to define it for somebody who'd never heard spiritual anything recently. And when I was trying to define it, I said, well, it goes beyond an idea, but it is an idea. And it goes beyond a plan, but it is a plan. And it goes beyond a feeling, but it's also a feeling. And so I think intention is really an energy. Is what is the energy that I'm going to bring to this, and how is that going to move me forward, right? So I think for me, that's what intention is. It's the energy. It's a thought. It's a plan. It's an idea. It is if you were studying the scriptures, you might say it's a vision. right? And the scriptures say without a vision, the people perish, which would make you think with a vision, what? Prosperity, forward movement, all good. So this is where I am on this topic right now, also knowing that could change as my journey grows and develops, right? But the power of intention. So it's like, where am I now and where do I want to be? It's going to take intention to get there. And so when you were saying this is show 275, it's like, well, how do we get to show 275? Well, first it was an idea. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even my idea. Right? It was, somebody said, I think podcast's a good idea. I said, that sounds good. I don't even know what a podcast is, but I think that's a great idea. And so then as I prayed on it, visioned on it, it's like, this is mine to do. So, well, then I had to do some work. I had to do some research. I had to do some interviewing. I interviewed my son. I interviewed a friend who's a doctor who listened to podcasts all the time because of a big commute. I interviewed Dave, who'd done a podcast for 11 years. So sometimes when we talk about spiritual things, especially people that tend to be in my denomination, which is Unity or New Thought, we kind of get these spiritual ideas if I just have a wish that somehow it shows up at my door. Or if I affirm it once that, my whole life is going to change. But it really is about every single day choosing a certain direction, every single day sticking with it and believing that what you're doing is worth doing. So I think we got to show 275 by our intention leading the way.
Yeah, absolutely being consistent. And I want to say we've never run a rerun.
Never run a rerun. Yeah, it's true.
We've never done like a greatest hits clip show like they do at like season 7 of your favorite sitcom or whatever. Right. We've never done that. We've never missed an episode. And that's not accidental. That's by design. And that's because of your intention.
Well, I mean, yes, it's us working together. And I appreciate that. I never want to take like some kind of credit. I just feel like I have this a drive to do this for some reason. I have a drive to reach the world with messages of hope.
Yeah.
Because frankly, most of us don't feel we have a lot of choice in what's happening around us right now. It feels like everything's happening to us. And so for me, getting back to intention is about believing that I have the power to change my life for the better. Right? Through my thoughts, through my feelings, through my beliefs, through my ideas, and then sticking to those beliefs and ideas every single day, not just saying, again, once or twice, or even for a week. Well, I thought about this for a week and nothing happened, and then where is God? Right? But to every single day get up and say, all right, what is mine to do today? And then seeking to really make a difference in the world at large rather than just being about what I want. Because some days I didn't feel like getting up to record. Some days I said, Dave, 7:30 is a little too early. He said, okay, 8:30 then. See you then.
Yeah. I've been up since 4. So.
Yeah, I've been up since 4, so get over yourself.
Another hour.
Yeah, so get over yourself. So always to me, the question for us is, what is mine to do today to make my life in the world a place I want to be? Right? So if I'm not in joy, if I'm not in love, if I'm not experiencing good, it's up to me to change something. Right? It's up to me to change something. I think that starts with intention. Mm-hmm. Right? Who am I now and where do I want to be? So for those of you here today, I'm thinking like you had to have an intention to come today, to show up today, right? You had to think about where you were going to be. You had to decide it mattered to you. And what I've seen happen is a lot of connection, a lot of love. I've been talking about new programs. One of our sponsors is here who's new not-for-profit Beacon Health is really about making a difference in the world at large with the LGBTQ community. It's like, everybody in this room is a difference maker, right? But I had to start with intention. And so I just want to keep bringing that up because wherever I am now doesn't have to stay where I am. I don't have to stay where I am. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, relationally, right? I have the power to change my life and my world based on my intention, how I think about my level of success, how I think about myself, the way I love myself or don't love myself. That can change with the power of intention. Right? So I think sometimes we just forget how much power we have. But the truth is, I think we all have as much power as anyone who's ever lived on this planet or ever will be. Like, they weren't passing it out and Natalie got some and I didn't, or Don got some and Josh didn't. It's like, and I think sometimes we get into this, like, comparing who we are with everybody else around us and everything. And, it doesn't really matter what anybody else is doing. What's yours to do? What's mine to do? And I think using that power of intention is the thing that moves me forward. Using that power of intention is the thing that helps me get from here to here and live a life definitely full of joy and love and peace and all good. The thing that I think for me, if there's something that holds me back, it's usually some, like, old residual self-image. Like that I'm not worth it, or I can't have it, or what would somebody say? Right? And we all have those, like, tapes that go off, right? When we're trying to move forward, we start to go, but can I really have that? Can I really have that? Right? So I think just allowing yourself, being in a space where you're with other like-minded people, to remember, yes, you can have all that and more. I was just speaking with somebody who had a big trip coming up, and they really were not feeling like it was theirs to have. And I said, well, what if I told you you're meant to experience good and abundance? And she goes, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I said, like, cool. You're letting me know it's possible for me to do something I hadn't even thought about for myself. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right? So all that has to change is my mindset. All that has to change is my intention. So we had our good friend on the show, Coach Richie, with All Stars ABC. And I love Coach Richie because he had played professional basketball, and he's really about, giving basketball to kids as a way to help them succeed in life, because they're learning about teamwork. And yes, they're becoming great ball players as well. And he brings me in to do motivation with kids and, to lift them up and get them thinking the same way. And so the other day I was working with the kids, and I said to them, okay, well, what are you thinking about right now? And they were like, everything. And I said, well, we're at basketball practice, so let's think about basketball. They go, okay. I said, so where are we? They go, we're in the gym. I said, let's think about that. Let's think about the gym. Let's think about being in the gym. And what do you do in the gym? They go, we play basketball. I said, okay, so where are you? And they go, here in the gym. I go, yeah, so I'm going to say, where are you? I want you to say here. So I said, where are you? And they said, here. I said, what time is it? And they go, oh, I don't know. I said, it's now. It's now. Right now, you're here. Right now, you're here. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on basketball. I had kids that were, bing, bing, bing. These are kids that need to be really active. I said, well, where are you? And they said, here. Well, what time is it? Now. So I said, take a breath, then shoot the ball. Practice, all of a sudden, took on a different energy because we were shifting our mindset. So we were present. We were intentional about, where am I right now? So sometimes intention is not about, like, gaining some big goal. It's just about being present in this very moment, right? Just getting present with what's mine to do right here, right now. And that was a follow-up, of course, from, the first time I worked with them, which was just, we worked with 3 keys to a success mindset, which is thought, belief, and action. And, 7 years old, totally understood that. 10 years old, totally understood that. It's like somehow as adults, we complicate it somehow. So where are you? Here. What time is it? Now. If I can do that, then whatever I have to do that day, is going to stretch out before me, and I'm going to be able to be present, and I'm going to be able to be successful with whatever is being asked of me, right? Just getting in the present moment. So that's been a real big one for me lately, like getting in the present moment. If I can stay present, all is well. But if I'm in the past or worried about the future, I'm in hell. But if I can be in the very moment thinking, where am I? What time is it? What is mine to do right now in this moment? Right? And then I can be intentional with my words, intentional with my thoughts, intentional with my actions. So the power of intention. So you're probably, I know this often happens because I've heard from many of our listeners that as I'm talking, I know what's happening is you're starting to fill in thoughts and feelings about your own life and where you're going and what you're doing. And what I know is that basically all of our listeners, something that you all have in common is you're trying to become conscious beings. And by conscious, I mean you're trying to become aware of your emotional state. You're trying to make a difference in your life and in the world. And you're seeking to live rather from just the mind, but you're seeking to live from soul. You're seeking to impact and affect other souls, for the better. So thinking about this topic, power of intention, how does that apply to you? How does that apply to me? We are becoming conscious beings. This is my number one goal in my life, to become conscious. There was an issue in my family recently, and many of you know that I talk about my family often. I love them to pieces, and they also have they're very committed to denial as a system. And there was a situation with a sibling who was having a rough time, and there was a great sense of denial, going on. And I thought, how do I stay conscious and intentional and still support, this situation? So that's what I'm talking about, like applying it in real life situations. That part of me wanted to make somebody wrong for not getting it. Like, how could you be in so much denial right now with she's having this tough time? Does nobody see what's happening, And then I thought, well, what can I do right now to help her and or them without making anybody wrong? Is there a way to be intentional in the midst of this much denial? And so I reached out and said, I want you to know I'm here. I want you to know I love you. And as soon as you're seen by doctors, I'd love for you to come stay with me for a little bit. But until then, please stay where you are and get seen. It's a physical condition that's very concerning, that's not been dealt with. And that was what I could feel good about. But my personality self wanted to have a heyday making everybody around me wrong, and why don't they get it? But if I'm trying to be conscious and I'm trying to be intentional, I can't talk about this on Sunday or on the podcast and then turn around and just, be all up in personality all the time. I have to try to be intentional. I have to try to be mindful in my communications and in my relationships. So I feel like that's what we're all called to be more conscious. I mean, I think if a small group of people just in the city of Orlando tried to do that, I think the news cycle would start to change because there'd be nothing to report on. Do you think it would be possible? Maybe they just make it up, you said, Joe. Okay, maybe I'm in denial on that one, you think? I think, though, we don't realize how we're walking through the world, how it does impact the people around us. And if we're intentional in our actions and in our relationships, stuff really starts to change for the better. What I noticed about my reaction with my family is that I was talking to a couple other siblings. There's so many of us that it's like a small tribe, a couple of you are here from big families, and it's being an Anderson is a reality all its own. And so anytime there's something up in the family, everybody starts calling each other. It's like the telephone game. That's why I went right to the one with the issue to make sure I knew exactly what was happening. But it was interesting to watch how everybody had an opinion and everybody had a feeling and everybody had what should be done, but nobody was doing anything about it. And I thought, there's got to be a way to be intentional, right? So that's my work right now. My biggest work is with my family. Like my job, I can do that. Podcast, I can do that. It's the family stuff that always brings up, right, those issues of how do I walk through life and try to stay conscious in the midst of this? Because we're all, pulled back to our family of origin stories. Like it's like a big rubber band. Something happens like, okay, suddenly I'm 7 or I'm 10 or I'm 12. But I'm not. Sometimes I have to, before going into a family call, I have to say, my name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm a grown-up. I have a home. I have a son who's nearly grown. I'm grown. I'm over 50. I'm grown. So before I go into this call, I want to remember to stay conscious and not go into that. So sometimes I have to remind myself, stay conscious, stay intentional. Yeah, stay intentional. Because where am I? Here. It's like, what time is it? It's now. Right. If I can just remember that, I'm going to be able to stay conscious. And also remember what my sibling or anybody else is going through. It's not my journey. My opinion on it really doesn't matter. But I can love, I can support, I can show up. And that's going to be a lot better than being in the ego state and the personality state and just judge. That's not going to help anybody. I want to try to stay intentional. This much coffee on a Saturday afternoon is going to be really interesting for church tomorrow. So one of the beliefs that I hold about the world and about God is that everything that's happening right now must be for a reason. And if that's true, now there's times that's hard to believe. Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's times that's hard to believe. So, and by saying that, I don't mean that bad stuff doesn't happen. But I'm saying for my journey, everything that's showing up for me must be showing up for a reason, either for me to learn a spiritual lesson or for me to figure out how to be a blessing in the midst of this. How to receive my blessing or how to give a blessing, one way or the other. That's why this is showing up for me. And a lot of people that call me for coaching or counseling, the various things that I do, they often say, well, how do I know what's mine to work on right now? And I say, well, the thing that's in your face right now. Like spiritual work or psychological work or becoming conscious, whatever way you want to talk about it. It's not about doing some big thing. It's about being intentional and conscious every single day. And so how you know what yours to do is the thing that's looming, the thing that every time you turn around is like in your face or it's making you mad or you're getting frustrated. That's how you know that's your work to do right now. Especially if it's bringing up emotions in you, especially if you're wanting to react, especially if it's impacting you in ways that you really can't describe. That means time to heal that piece. So it's like a worldview of realizing that everything that's happening has got to be to either receive a blessing or to be a blessing, one or the other. But the blessings sometimes come disguised as hardship and grief. Sometimes it's seeing my own limits and my own personality or my own wound. And then that's how I know if it's a wound, rather than expecting everybody to step around it, that it's mine to heal. I saw a comedian recently. I love to watch comedians, and I saw a comedian recently talking about how the problem with the younger generation, his words, not mine, is that we all know what our problems are, but we expect everybody to work around them rather than fix it. To say, oh no, I have anxiety. Oh no, I have this. Oh no, I have that. Instead of trying to heal that so that we can walk in the world as a responsible adult. Right? So my method of healing is whatever's up for me means it needs my attention, not I expect you to work around it because it's my wound. I don't want to own wounds. I don't want to own a problem. Yeah. Another way to be intentional. Another way to be intentional. So what I'm always looking at, and I'm asking you to think about too, is there a place in my life right now, in my journey right now, where I could stand to be a little bit more intentional? Is there a way that I'm being asked to wake up, become a little more conscious, become a little more aware, be a little more engaged in whatever the universe or spirit is asking of me? Being intentional requires engagement. It requires an energy, a plan, an action, being conscious about what is going on now. So now I know what is mine to do. What is mine to do. So I hope what I'm talking about today is supporting where you are on your journey. And as I'm thinking about all our listeners around the world, I'd love to hear from some of you, how are you using intention in your life and in your world to see, how is life changing for the better as you're applying some of these principles? I don't want to just give these shows and never hear back feedback, because I know many of you, I've heard from a couple of you recently saying, the show is making such a difference that my family members are starting to listen with me. It's helping our whole family be more healthy, which I love. I love to hear that. So friends, as you're going throughout your day, if you're in your work day and this is really impacting you, make a little note, contact us.
Yeah, you could head over to experienceofthesoul.com/contact. We would absolutely love to hear from you.
Yeah. And if there's any topic too that you want to see me lift up a little bit, what the topics I always bring are the ones I'm working in my life, because I think those are the ones that I can talk the best about. I don't want to read about it in a book and then give it to you. These principles I'm speaking of are tried and true, from 30 years of ministry and also working in my own life. So the power of intention, friends, think about what is it in the coming days, weeks, that you're being asked to become a little more conscious, become a little more engaged in your life and where it is you say you want to be. What is up for you that's looking for healing? Again, realize that may be an emotion you feel. It may be a condition in the body. It may be something in a work situation. But if it's a place of struggle, it's time to be healed. That's how you know. Whatever's up right now is what's yours to do. This is the good news and the bad news. The bad news is it's yours to do. The good news is I believe nearly anything's healable. As you apply intention, as you apply these beliefs, as you remember, wherever I am, all is well. Right? So where am I? Here. Well, what time is it? It's now. Right? So I want to become intentional with who I am, what is mine to do, what is mine to heal as I go throughout my life, my world, my work day, my family situations. Right? So, friends, I thank you for joining us today, especially for show 275.
275.
We do have some friends here in Orlando with us at Lineage Coffee at 1011 East Colonial. And I want to open it up if anybody has any comments or questions.
Yeah, we want to make space for that. But again, a huge thanks to the folks at Lineage for hosting us today. Huge thanks.
All right. I love how the people just coming in think we're clapping for them.
Yes.
You guys are
welcome.
beautiful. Yay.
Yes.
Exactly. Joe had a question.
Yeah, you talked about intention and you talked about you were approached about this podcast and you thought about it,
Yeah.
and you started to go moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Can you share a time when the universe kind of affirmed that for you? Right? So like we've had conversations where I remember when I was doing 2 things at once, and
Oh, yes.
the one thing I thought I was supposed to do was never working out, but this other one was so easy, right? And you kind of mentioned it. So I thought maybe you had a similar experience in your journey. When you put intention to something, does the universe tell you you're on the right path?
Oh, yeah, I think that's a great question. I want to make sure everybody heard that. Joe said, was your direction, or how was your direction affirmed for the podcast? And I think for the show, just everyone I spoke to was certainly positive about it. And that I happened to know somebody who had already been a successful producer of one was also a great sign. But I think the fact that as I thought about it, as I prayed about it, it really gave me a lot of joy was also a great affirmation. And then I thought, when we first set out to do it, I thought, I'm going to give this a year and see what happens. And so in the first 6 months, my goal was to reach 10,000 downloads, and we reached over 25,000. So for me, that was the affirmation I needed to know. At least it was of value to somebody somewhere, and that we would keep going. And then we also had financial support too. And I said, well, I wasn't expecting, financial support. Thank goodness it was there, because that's what's kept us on the air. But so all those things were affirmations. And I think too, just me loving it was a really important thing. And also that Dave and I had such a great working relationship. We always have.
Yeah, you don't make it 275 episodes if you don't just enjoy the people. And if it's not easy, you can't do anything 275 times in a row, and if it's like a struggle every single time.
Yeah, so it's a great question. And our agreement with each other is just to always keep it real and authentic, and not try to pretend we're anything, that we're just bringing our journey and what we're learning. And I've talked about on the show 2 times where, hey, I was in a learning myself. You know?
We try things and we shift, We had sponsored segments for a while. We had meditations, and we're really blessed to have Don who in the house who
did the meditations.
Who did so many of our meditations for us. Thank you so much. Now it's just the 30 minutes, and we just go wherever Spirit takes us, really, and not being afraid to do that.
And every year we say, are we going to do this?
Yep.
Right. And so far, I see no reason to stop. Yeah. Yes, Molly.
So while you were speaking, when you were talking about your friend who was not going to enjoy her vacation, that's a theme of spiritual people, that we're supposed to be suffering all the time.
Right.
And that's not what God's plan is for us. It's just part of life to transcend and identify the suffering, and don't always live in the suffering. But
right.
So many of us identify with the suffering alone. So I thought that was so important to hear that today. And then there was another theme going on today. My husband and I were talking about the coaching mentality of success is understanding your intention, which is your why. And
what is your why? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think for all of us, you have to just know that, there's a scripture I love, which always gets applied to financial things, but I like it for just the joy of life, which is, it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And that's all good. That's, to me, the main thing with that is joy. I think it includes all other abundance, relational abundance, a job you love, amazing trips around the world to connect and learn. I think those are all things that we're all meant to have.
Yeah, it's at the end of every episode, you'll hear, produced by 818 Studios, and you hear the little thing, it's what my tattoo's about. And that scripture is from Deuteronomy 8:18, which says, remember, it's the Lord your God that enables you to make a living. It's not even make a living, it's to produce wealth. And it's my reminder, and the reason the company is called 818 Studios, it's my reminder that all good things come from not my effort and ego, but from divine, the universe. So, yeah.
I'm glad you talked about that. Yeah, I love the 818 story.
Yep.
Yeah.
I liked it. I put it on my arm. Just because I needed to be able to see it.
You're right, exactly.
Remind myself.
Right, yeah, I get it.
Yep.
I get it. Cool. Anybody else? Any comments? Yeah, questions. Ron?
Yes, you wonderfully talked about being here now, the power of now.
The power of now, yes.
But I'm sure there are listeners who are in a now, and maybe the external events in their lives are rather difficult, or they're in physical pain or emotional pain, and that is their now. So if the now itself is challenging, some call it pain body.
Yes.
How do you then get back to source if now is pretty hard business?
I think that's a great question. I want to make sure, were you going to repeat that?
Yeah, just the question is, how can you be in the now when right now is pretty stinky?
Yeah, now sucks.
Yeah.
Right. Right. How do you be in the now when the now is hard? Well, I think, of course, that's the hardest time to do it, right? That's the hardest time. And so I think for everybody, it's different. I'll tell you what I do is I go work out. I move my body. I go to jujitsu where I get to throw people on the floor. So, or I listen to spiritual music, or, I go for a walk. So something for me, it's usually about moving the energy, somewhere. So it just depends on what it is. Sometimes I can just do 10 deep breaths and be golden. But like you say, if it's a bigger struggle than that, it's going to take more than one thing on one day, probably. It's going to be, is there some new habit I need to adopt right now to get me through this time? Because where I'm at is too painful. And it is. Eckhart Tolle does call it pain body, right? And it most certainly is. Pain body can be this lifetime. It can be past lives, right? Pain body is very real. But what's more real, I would say, is the realm of spirit. So however we contact that, and sometimes it will be meditation for me or deep breathing. Sometimes it'll be working out and moving the energy. Sometimes it's listening to gospel as loud as I can possibly handle and singing at the top of my lungs to move the energy out of my body so I can get re-present again. But sometimes I need to do something to move the energy, and I can't just think it away or pray it away. Or sometimes I need a therapist or a doctor or a massage or some way, but I will deal with whatever the energy is. Or sometimes it's calling a friend saying, can I talk this out with you? Because I need to get present. And right now I'm not there. Right. So sometimes I have to, have a hand. I have to have somebody remind me, I have a dear friend, sometimes he and I call each other and one of us will say, okay, I need a minister. And I know friend mode is completely off. I've got to be 100% minister for him right then. Or he's that for me. I'll say, I need a minister. He'll say, how can I help? Can I get a witness up in here? Yeah. Yeah, good one. Yes. Jomar?
Yes. You said when you have an intention, you put your energy there. That,
yes.
Hey, I'm going to be successful. That's my energy.
Yes.
But what happened when the energy, they try to attack and be like, you are out. You're not successful. So how do you keep it real and not affect the ones around you too?
Okay. So your question really is, how do you keep being intentional even if it's not successful right away?
Yes.
And when other people are attacking that.
And when other people are attacking that. Well, one is surround yourself with good people and make sure that they can see your vision too. And it's really hard when you're excited about something. I know because this happens to me all the time. And I love to get excited about a lot of things. And when I have people that are excited with me, it really helps keep my vision alive. So one is to make sure you're really surrounding yourself with really good people that can see it. And the other thing I want to say, and I'm not this is not a slam on families, but sometimes families see you as you grew up. They see you as little or the youngest or the baby, or that's my story, the baby, oh, the baby, So, and they may not be able to see some grand vision that you're holding. So I think being really careful who you share that with too is really important. And then I think you do want to though look for signs from the universe of, am I receiving support for this? And it's really good to have a little check-in system, because when you're heading the right direction, the universe will send you signs of affirmation. And I think it's important to pay attention to those. And if not, Like if you're not receiving a sign of affirmation, you might be thinking, well, this may not mean this isn't going to happen, but it may mean not this second, right? Because there is sometimes a divine timing to things. Like if you have a vision, but the money's not showing up yet, will you still hold the vision? And sometimes we have to adjust the timeline. There's something in my career I've been really wanting to do for a long time, and it's taken me, months and months to prepare the materials. And I was thinking I would be able to do it within 3 months. That's probably going to be closer to 9 months of getting everything together. Well, it's not bad. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It just means I have to readjust. I had to set an intention first to see how it would move forward. So I'm moving forward, but it's not quite as quick as I wanted. And that's kind of common for me because I want everything now. So it's a learning, right? And so learning to not overly judge, but see it as signs and as divine order for the right and perfect time. Yeah. And I really want to support you in your vision too. So I think you're at the right place today to have some cool people supporting you. Yes. Good question. Anybody else? All right, friends. Well, thank you so much. Again, a shout out to Lineage Coffee at 1011 East Colonial.
And Jordan, the man.
Yeah, appreciate Jordan, the man, right over here.
The legend.
The legend, who's going to be moving to my home state soon. So that's very cool. But anyway, friends, thank you so much for joining me. And somebody asked, how do I support the show? You can, and Dave's got all that information.
Yeah, we'll have links into the description. You go to experienceofthesoul.com/support.
Yep.
And we're made possible by your support. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, dear friends, we're honored to support your journey. And I thank each of you who made the effort to come out today. We love you. We bless you. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up. Happy to have my family here and
Jeff with the video.
And Jeff with video. So that's really, really awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff, for hanging out with us. Jeff and Molly for being here as well. Thank you to all of our supporters who are joining us from around the world. And we look forward to seeing you next week for show 276. We're going to keep showing up, friends. So, All right. Thank you so much for all your support and blessings on the journey, dear friends.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2023, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience, with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.